This video is on what I call the ribbon pull. It's definitely in the Greene and Greene style, not modeled after any one particular pull, but it's got a lot of close similarities to a couple different pulls. This pull is the one that I did in the video with the wood whisperer for the Fremont nightstand. So if you're doing that, building that piece, this will work for you. If you want to follow along in the instructions in the wood whisperer video, you'll get a nice pull as well. But this one has a couple advantages that I like. With this is going to be cut out on either the CNC or the Shaper Origin. I'm going to be using the Shaper Origin. I will supply for free the SVG file or the DXF, so you can cut it out on the CNC or the Shaper Origin. What's interesting about it is cutting it out on this way, I can put this little concave shape, gets narrower in the center, and I can do a little shaping right here on the steps. You can see there's little curves and interesting shapes. So that's the advantage of doing it this way. Let's come on over here and we'll start cutting this guy out. So I've already done all the preliminary stuff. I've set the grid. I've zeroed out the bit. I brought the design in and anchored it where it needs to go. One note, this stock is 13/16, so make sure that you have a bit, quarter-inch bit, that's deep enough to reach down 13/16. I'm going to be cutting out two pockets. One pocket to get down to this level and another one down to this level. This one is down this first one is down 0.2 from here, from the face here. This one is down 0.45. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out one large pocket that encompasses this whole end for this one. And that means I don't have to do this one in two steps. The first step will have already done with this one. So if you look on the screen here, I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, you can see the outline. That's the first pocket I'm going to cut out. That's down 0.2. But it's easy to go over here and move to that one because one is on top of the other. Make sure when you're cutting out, you're cutting out the correct pocket. Once I've cut out this pocket, I'm going to erase it so that it'll be out of the way and it won't be as confusing. So next up, we've got a couple operations over here at the router tables. The first operation is to dish out this area from here to here. I want to kind of hollow it out there. The bit that I'm going to use to do that is an Amana 45949. It's a core box bit, 2¼ inches diameter. It's kind of scary to run. You can see that I've done a setup here to kind of get my hands and everything away from it and make sure the stock stays over the top. I've cut a hole out on this plate, placed it on top of the router table, clamped it down, and then I put these two pieces of wood over here to capture the stock so I can go through with a push stick like that. I'm going to go about a 1/16 of an inch deep, and it's as close as I can get to centered on the width there. So let's do it. Next up, these finger pulls on either side. That's cut with an Amana 46378 upcut ball nose, 3/8 diameter. That's what's in there. Now, the cut is 1/8 of an inch in from here to here, 1 13/16 from the end, and about a 1/2 inch high from here to here. As you can see, I've got stops set up at the limits, and I've got this fence set where it's going to cut 1/8 of an inch in. The way it works is I'm going to pivot in on this side, just going to make a cut to relieve this end. I'm not going to move forward, and then I'm going to move down here, pivot in, cut, and go all the way down, and then do the same on the other side. This is an Oreo thumb laurel riffler, 6-inch, grain 14. It has two different sides. One is kind of got a thin edge, and the other has a thick edge. For what I'm doing here, I like that thin edge. So I'm going to pull these corners down. This is kind of just a rough end because I'm going to do, next I'm going over to the flap sander and kind of even things out. Okay, let's turn this guy over, get the other edge. Okay, now I'm going to get these spaces in here. It's tight quarters because I don't want to end up scratching this area down here. I just want to shape these corners without touching that and creating more scratches to sand out. Okay, this is just a medium grained rasp, flat one. Here, let's Okay, we're all roughed out. Let's go over to the flap sander. So this is a 7-inch Klingspor Mac mop. It can also be mounted on a drill press. It's got a 1/4-inch shank on it there. I have a special adapter, so it'll fit on my variable speed buffer. I'm going to run at about 1,000 RPM. Let's turn this guy on. There's 900. And let's go up to 1,000. Get a dust collection on. Okay, now let's go back over to the bench and we're going to get down to the hand sanding. So I'm starting off here with 220 grit. I'm going to come back. You can see there's a sharp edge right along here. I'm going to take that out and smooth out a little more what I started over there at the flap sander. You can see what I'm doing. I've got the sandpaper holding it like this with my thumb backing it. And I find that's a good way to kind of get a nice even surface there. So now I'm going to come back with one of these sanding pads, use the straight edge of it, and try to get in here and clean up any marks that were put in the process. And I'll go back and pick up just a couple little things that pop out. I want smooth transitions everywhere. So to sand into here, I'm going to use this pad. This is a pad that came in a package from Woodcraft. I think it's their Wood River brand. I think other people make them too. But it doesn't have to be this. It can be just anything that has a soft backing that will conform into here that you can wrap some sandpaper around. That's 220 grit. If you're using some other wood, if you're doing Bubinga, for instance, you might want to go down a couple grits to start because 220 is just not going to cut it. But with Honduras mahogany, that's what this is. It likes sandpaper. It's sandpaper friendly, so I can start at 220. There, nice and smooth. Let's fold this over, and I'm gonna come back and do this. Let me get on the other side of the camera. Just blending that all in. There we go. So now we're on to the finger pull. As you can see, I've got a little return here on this downward leg right here. Kind of resembles a cloud lift of sorts. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this thumb riffler again, only this time I'm going to use that thick end, this guy here, as opposed to the thin end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a flat spot there of sorts. Not worrying about shape, I'm just creating it's kind of flat. But what I want to do now is use this guy to pull that around and bear that flat spot out so it's a nice gentle curve all the way down. But right here, I have some material to remove. There's a little bump there. So carefully. There. There, now, nice and well defined. I'll do the other end, and then I'll get back to you. So to finish this finger pull off, I've got one of these sanding guys right here. It's got a radius pretty similar to in here. And again, I'm going to wrap that with 220 grade sandpaper, grit, and just sand away. That's got it up in there. I'm going to use the other end and get down in here. Small sanding block. Just going to take any marks that are in that face there. Again, 220 grit. And again, if you're using something other than Honduras mahogany, you may want to start at a coarser grit. Okay, now we just need to ease all these edges, and I'm just going to do that by hand with 220 grit. Sometimes right up in, where are we at? Right up in here and here, you got to do a little more because it's sandpaper didn't reach up into there on the initial sanding. And I see some marks in there. I'm going to come back in and pick some of that up. We're almost done, almost there. Yeah, there we have it.